welcome to the Au Jus. I'm your host, BeefLoaf. This show is being sponsored by our friends, Punky's Pizza and Pasta, located at 2600 South Wallace, my personal favorite eatery in the neighborhood. They have the best selection of pizzas and pastas, as well as sandwiches and salads of any spot in Bridgeport. Currently, they have a terrific Monday nights only special, one medium cheese pizza for $12.99. No promo codes, no minimums. Just place the order at 3 p.m. or later, and you can get one medium pizza for $12.99. Topics can be added, but at their normal price. So you can get some sausage and pepperoni in there. That's going to be a normal price. Hit the website, punkyspizza.com, for all of your carry-out or delivery needs, or cater your next party there. You can also call 312-842-2100. The Scarlotta family will take care of you. Punky's Pizza and Pasta. This show is also powered by you, the Loyal 108 supporter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to tickle the undercarriage in the process. Like, comment, turn on notifications, and most definitely super chat, because that's how we get paid, and that's how we make the content you know and love. Tonight's guest, unfortunately, is just a fuck ton of me. So it's going to be BeefLoaf solo tonight. We're just going to be riffing, and I had a bunch of topics. I have a bunch of topics still in the holster right here. A lot of stuff to talk to you guys about. However, some current things happened, some maybe hot button topics, if you will. And so I wanted to kind of lead off with some of those things first, because they say if it bleeds, it leads. So we got to go with the number one topic of the day, and this just happened a little while ago. I had people messaging me, Beef, is this April Fool's? Like, are the Sox playing the trick on people? I don't think they are. Number one topic is Mike Clevenger is supposedly close to signing a deal with the White Sox, subject to a physical. I was, to say I was surprised, I was very surprised by this, but we've talked to a lot of people from 108ers. We don't always like divulge, okay, we got this source or this person's talking to us, whatever. But we had heard this smoke kind of during the offseason, and I thought something might actually happen, especially kind of right after the Cease trade, but it didn't. And so the fact that it didn't, I had kind of filed it away, and I thought, oh, that's absolutely not happening. So whatever, I'm not going to worry about it. And then fast forward 4 games into the season, and holy shit, they're signing Mike Clevenger. Now, I want to break this down in a baseball way. I already know, here's an obvious thing, all right? People are going to argue over Clevenger's situation. I got a line. Here's the line I make. Troublemaker, not a troublemaker, okay? Mike Clevenger, for me, falls on the troublemaker side of the line. Whether or not he's guilty of anything that he's been accused of, there always seems to be some shit going on with him. Like, this is the line I put in my personal life. Troublemaker, not troublemaker, okay? He's on the troublemaker side. Maybe he's totally fine. Maybe he's a victim of circumstance. I would doubt it. He's the type of person I would keep away from. Me personally, I would not want very much to do with. But let's say you can get over that. Let's say you can say, all right, some shit happened. I'm willing to give a second chance or whatever. I don't understand the baseball reasons to do this. Number one, there's no upside here for Mike Clevenger, right? You signed this guy. You signed him last year. And you signed him right out of the gate. And let's be honest, he pitched reasonably well. And then he got hurt a little bit before the trade deadline. You put him out there on waivers, free for anyone to have. Just got to pick up his mutual, which was, I think, $4 million in the year. No takers. So you couldn't trade him at the deadline. You couldn't get him to go to another team for free, basically, for just salary, all right? Number two, in the offseason, every team had a chance to sign this man, and they chose not to. And there was 57 UCL injuries out there. I mean, you've seen it all over the place. Teams were injured like a motherfucker, and what happens? No one picks him up. No one decides to sign him. Okay, so what's it? Yeah, Jerry O'Sullivan will be referred to as SP5. Probably, yeah. We'll probably go back to calling him SP5. Although on this team, SP3 maybe. Like that, he's kind of moved up. Yeah, you're right. We don't know what the contract's for. My guess is going to be very low money. But no one signed him in the offseason. 29 other teams watched him pitch last year, which he pitched decent, and said, no, thank you. They had injuries. No, thank you. They kept moving on. Even the White Sox chose not to sign him as well. Finally, we get to, oh my God, we have this Brian Bannister pitching program. This is the thing we're hanging our fucking hat on. Chris Getz is talking up the pitching program. So excited to create this pitching program. He bought this defense in the offseason. We want this to be a place pitchers want to come. And then 4 games in, you trash it and just say, well, we'll just sign this guy because we're panicking. We don't know what's going on here. I am at a loss for words. Like, and not to mention every trade that you made, every deal that you made in the offseason, you loaded up on pitching. The White Sox have pitching on the 40-man, young pitching that is maybe varying levels of ready to come up. They have some guys off the 40-man who they made trades for, the Dylan Cease trade. They kind of loaded up on pitching. And then we're here, April 1, and you're like, we got to go out and grab this guy. It's a very odd move to me. I don't see the upside. I'd be shocked if you're able to flip him for anything because you couldn't last year, and no one was buying him for free. I mean, like, we saw, you see this from time to time, but anyone with any fucking promise usually gets picked up, right? I mean, so this is a very interesting move right here as far as, like, I don't know why Chris Getz is choosing this path, especially if you had a whole offseason of figuring this out and saying, oh, okay, here's what we know we want to do with our pitching. And then you're like, oh, shit, we got to do something different, right? 4 days into the season. Absolutely crazy. John Nava, thank you. He says, cheers, Beef. Great take on Clevenger. Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Again, people land on whatever side you want to land on. From a baseball perspective, I just don't like it. Now, let's jump off of Clevenger here just for a moment and jump over to someone who's frustrating the shit out of most of you as well. And I'm going to put him up on the screen right now for those of you watching on YouTube. That is Eloy Jimenez. I didn't want to start with all the negative stuff, but I think it makes sense to start with it. We need to get this out of our system before we can really have some fun with this show. Eloy Jimenez pulled up. He was grimacing today on the ground ball. The first, in fact, Aloha Mr. Hand told Treasy and I, Eloy hurt again. And we're like, no, he just pulled up because he was out by a mile on that play. Turns out that he was hurt. Now, I saw a lot of people dogging Eloy out there, pissed off, screaming and stuff. I'm at the point of my relationship with Eloy Jimenez. I don't have the emotional capital to get mad at the big baby anymore. I just don't care enough about if he's here and he's okay, fine. But it's like when someone comes over a party and they bring a dessert, right? And you didn't really ask for them to bring a dessert, and they bring it. If it looks good, I'm going to have some. But if it doesn't really look good, I don't care. Then I don't worry about it at all. And that's kind of the way I've been with Eloy. I'm impressed that you out there still have the emotional capital to get pissed at Eloy. I wish I did, but I don't got it anymore. Now, one thing that is common between he and Clevenger is he's running out of utility for the White Sox. I kind of get why they're trying to play short for a day or two and see if he can come back, because the longer we get into the season, the less of a point you have in even having the big baby here. He's probably not tradable unless he's great. Right now, his only utility is be another guy in the lineup that the other teams can't just mow over with 92 right down the middle, like you're watching today with Paul DeYoung, just getting whooped up by fastball, center cut, not even good ones. You at least would have another reasonable guy in there with Eloy Jimenez, and that's kind of where we're going with this. You're going to get to a point in the season where it's not even going to be any point in putting Eloy in the lineup because you can't move him, you can't turn him into anything. You're going to decline the option next year. And there's really nothing else. I just don't. I don't think you need to spend time on it. And Ian, yeah, you're adopting my take on Eloy. It's hard. I was a fan too. I really liked Eloy. I thought there was a lot of promise there. And you know what? It just hasn't happened. And if you get something out of him this year, great. It's great. He's like a scratch-off lottery ticket. But don't pin any of your emotional hopes on him because it would take a miracle for him to be traded for something good, and it would also take a miracle for him to be back next year. And so I'm not sure it's worth putting it any more into Eloy. Now, the drop-off from Eloy to the next guy is holy moly bad. You saw Gavin Sheets is not a major league player. He should not be in the lineup. And the fact that the White Sox spent the entire offseason stocking up on pitchers, and they added no hitters, basically. There's not your next hitters are your real prospect guys that can come up. And Colson, Montgomery, Brian Ramos. You don't want to rush them. It's ridiculous that they didn't grab a hitter somewhere in there that's we can give this guy a shot. When they were talking about Dom Smith, I was like, Dom Smith would be great. Put Dom Smith on this roster. Nope. You got as much Gavin Sheets. He's inevitable. You cannot kill Gavin Sheets. He must stay here forever. And these are things that are hitting me on the, I was willing to give Chris Getz a chance. I'm still giving him a chance. But the Gavin Sheets still being on the roster and the Mike Clevenger just I panicked. I had to go get that pitcher. These are not good things, in my personal opinion, for the Chris Getz regime, as you would have it. Next up, and I I admit it, I was out talking a ton of shit on Twitter on Saturday because I saw on Thursday everyone was upset about the Sox getting shut out. The Sox can get shut out this year, and the Sox don't have a good offense, right? I mean, that's pretty clear. So I talked shit to you guys, offered $108 scot-free to someone who quote tweeted "fuck BeefLoaf," and I was going to give it to you. Obviously, the Sox had their best offensive. Maybe I got to do that every game. They had 6 runs in that game, their best offensive game, and I was talking shit. I'm like, this offense won't be that bad. Fast forward to today, and then they got blanked again, and it was just a veteran pitcher knowing like who can hurt me in this lineup. Eloy's out. I'll just make Luis Robert chase shit. I'm going to be absolutely fine, and I could throw center cut to these other guys. No one here is going to be able to hurt me, and so I think. We're not quite to the point where I'll give you the offense is way worse than you thought. It's already a bad offense, but we're getting there. And it's only 4 games in. So thank you for the drink. Matt Zwaski says, is it true that the Sox are so good they're deciding to play a man down because they're playing a man down? Cheers. I kind of understand it. I kind of understand playing a man down because if you put Eloy on IL for 10 days or 12 days or whatever, then that big, long, goofy fuck takes another 2 weeks to get warmed up, and he don't even really need his legs to hit. I mean, like, he had a great 2022 in the second half where he hit well. He was on one leg, and a lot of people ignore that. That was one of the best second halves in Sox history, and the man was 75%. He was on one leg. So I get what they're trying to do here because they're like, you put him down on the IL, it's a month before he's useful again, and maybe the season's over already, and maybe you don't do that. But my thought would be they're just trying to have another competent bat in there to try to hold up for the rest of these guys, move the lineup, keep it going. So yes, it is dumb. It is a dumb Rick Hahn era thing to play a man down. If they play a man down for like 3 days, then we are smack dab right back in the Rick Hahn era. Doing it one day and just seeing what the results are tomorrow, and then maybe you activate a guy if you're not pleased with those results, or Eloy's in the lineup. That's fine. I'm okay with it. A day, maybe 2 days. You start getting to that third day. That's just too much for me. I can't do that. All right, let's get to some stuff that maybe could put a positive spin on things. White Sox stuff. Garrett Crochet's first start. This man right here. I still think he looks like John Holmes. I don't care what anyone says. It was one of my worst memes ever. Everyone hated it. No, we would get no likes. I would put this up there when he'd come in the game, say, Crochet's coming in. Everyone hated it except for K-Dog. He pitched great in the opener. Now, one thing I put out there on Twitter already is that it didn't surprise you guys that he was good, and it didn't surprise me he was good. It surprised me he was in the 6th inning, and it will surprise me a lot if 2 months from now we're looking at starts like that for a guy who hasn't thrown that many innings. This is an upside play. This is something that I thought was smart by Getz, even if it didn't work, because it has a lot of utility. It has a lot of upside, and if he carries it out there and looks great, he's going to be tradable. And I know people are, well, no, he's going to be part of your, fuck that. They're trying to trade as much shit as they can, is what it looks like to me. And so if Crochet continues his form, there's no way you don't trade him. I think he ends up on another team. If we look out there in June, he's still holding up pretty good, throwing 5-inning starts and such. And so, like, opening night, that was, or opening day, I guess it was, that was something to absolutely hang your hat on. Another thing that struck me, this was on Saturday, and I see this a lot out in the Twitterverse. We have to come to grips with what Luis Robert is and what he brings to the team, okay? Luis Robert is going to look bad in some plate appearances, okay? And then he's going to be otherworldly. Here's what people get me upset about. Beef, I want Luis Robert to be consistent. Motherfucker, do you think a guy hits 40 home runs, hits a quarter of a home run every goddamn game? Of course not. This shit is boom and bust, and that's how it is basically for all big power hitters like this. Luis is going to have even more of it because he's got a lot of swing and miss in his profile. So don't worry about when he had a shitty game today. He's 0 for 3 strikeouts. Luis is going to have shitty-ass games like that sometimes. And then he's going to have the game like Saturday where he's killing the ball, and he has walks, and he's on base 4 to 5 times. All right? Like, Luis is going to give you those games. Just embrace Luis for what Luis is. Don't expect him to become... He's not going to become Juan Soto, okay? Luis is Luis. So just stick with Luis as he is. Let me get to this drink right here. Jerry O'Sullivan says, how many consecutive losses to start the season before Pedro gets fired? Can they go 0-22 and break the record? Jared, thanks, Jerry. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I what I was going to lead off with White Sox stuff was I don't think they're as bad as everyone's making them out to be. They looked like an ordinary bad team in the first series. They lost 3 one-run games, okay? One-run games are generally coin flips. Most teams regress to the mean. If you have a team that wins a lot of one-run games, the next year that shit goes back down towards 500. Same thing as if you lose a lot of them. It soars back up. One-run games are often a lot of luck. And so that's why the first 3 games to me look like, okay, they're a bad team, but they're not a exceedingly bad team. Like the Tigers didn't look much better to me. I'll just put it that way. And I know people can't wait to give AJ Hinch his next fucking extension. And to me, they don't look a lot different. And allegedly the Tigers have some talent there. They're supposed to be decent. Now today they got their goddamn asses kicked. So I get it. Watching today's thing, Jason Bourgeois didn't want to come back out there, and I can't blame him. Like, it's cold, rainy, and shitty out there. Who the fuck wants to come out there? So, but I just think they're not as bad as it looks. They may get their ass kicked on days like this. They may have days where they just don't hit it all. Like, they got the bases loaded in inning 1, and then they had one other runner in scoring position after that. Like, there's going to be some days like this until you get some of these young kids up that can actually hit and get on base more. There's the early season going to be probably a lot of these, and it's not, and then like, I made the excuse on the opener. Tarek Skubal is a stud, which he is. He's going to get AL Cy Young votes, of course. But Charlie Morton's he's an old crafty veteran, like, and carved your ass up. So like, I guess that shit's gonna happen sometimes. A couple more White Sox things, and then I want to flip over to some quasi White Sox stuff. First thing, I think the White Sox right now, from the pitching side, it looks to me like they're going for efficiency over having the big strikeout guys. They had the big strikeout guys with the last regime, and it was Lynn, and it was Giolito, and it was Cease. A lot of these guys working deep into the count, trying to strike everyone out. The bullpen was the same way. The Joe Kellys of the world, Liam, all these guys. The White Sox have flipped that over, and they've gone to a more efficient group. They're trying to limit the pitch counts. They're trying to get ahead of hitters and make them hit their pitches. And it's actually, other than today, it's worked out fine. Like the first series, it worked out okay. Soroka wasn't very good, as you saw today. Chris Flexen also not very good. The bullpen is hit or miss. Like you have one guy out there in the bullpen who can be a stud, and that's Kopech. And we saw the not great version of Kopech in the opener when he was very wild, walks. He ended up getting out of the inning unscathed. And then we saw the awesome version of Kopech yesterday. And I think you're going to see the volatility there. But I think the White Sox are shooting for throw the ball, throw more strikes, have them hit the ball into the defense. And the defense, to be honest, it's way too early to look at defensive metrics, but of course I did. And the White Sox defensive efficiency are top 10, so that's on Baseball Reference. Defensive runs saved, I think they were 10th or 11th. That was before today's effort. I know they had a couple rough defensive plays today. And truth be told, the one real bad defensive play I saw over the weekend was when Paul DeJong, which Paul DeJong might start becoming an issue. He can't hit center cut 92-mile-an-hour fastballs, and he threw this ball like he had vertigo past Braden Shoemake at second when they were trying to get a force. Now, luckily, in that play, Dominic Fletcher ran, backed it up, the right fielder, and threw the runner out at the plate. And so you had more hustle than what you had before. You had more awareness of, I need to be backing this up in relatively decent position. Got the ball. Now the Tigers made a big mistake running, but fuck them. Like, we got to take advantage of other teams' mistakes. And so that defense just looks like it's holding up better than last year's. And I won't say it's what we're promised because we don't know yet. This is 4 games in. I don't want to judge completely everything at this point. But it looks a lot better. It looks like they can pick up the ball. It looks like they have a reasonable defense back there. I would expect them to be average to above average on defense. Kind of assuming this holds up. Now, is that going to be enough for the offense? I haven't the slightest idea. It doesn't look like it right now. Couple other things here. I'm surprised we haven't had more complaints about Pedro Grifol and his use of the bullpen. Because I think right now they don't know who they think is good. They signed a bunch of mismatched parts, and that's how you end up with Tim Hill in the 9th inning, and giving up the booty. And the Tigers are willing to, get their left-handed hitters out of the game just so they don't have a lefty face Tim Hill. And so you're going to end up in those situations if you decide to pitch him late in the game. Hopefully Pedro learned something there. You cannot use that guy who's good against lefties only at the end because the other team is going to use proper game theory, put the right-handed hitters in, and knock you out of there. I think right now it's a big mix and match. They're trying to figure out who the fuck is where. Like they had Brebbia come in the ninth on Saturday, and he made quick work. A lot of fly balls, too many for Treasy's liking. But I think they're on the path of trying to figure out who's who. I'm surprised we haven't seen more complaints about the bullpen, honestly. Although the White Sox give you a lot of shit to complain about, so I guess that's maybe it. Last thing on the White Sox specifically, right now 0-4, it hasn't looked good. Right now, what you if you want to stay engaged and you want to still be involved, look for happy surprises. Like Braden Shoemake has looked nice so far. I don't know if he's any good, but I think he's going to get an extended run here. And especially if Paul DeJong continues to struggle, I think you might see him almost every day. I think you'll see him play a lot. Corey Lee's gotten unexpected plate appearances and hasn't looked too terrible. So like maybe he has rebounded. Maybe he's figured out some shit from last year. Maybe the injury was still bothering him. And maybe Corey Lee can be an effective player for the White Sox here. That's kind of the stuff I would be looking at if I were you as a White Sox fan to stay engaged with this thing. If you're looking for reasons to stay engaged, because some of this stuff is upsetting right out of the gate. The results are poor. Today's performance especially poor. So if you're looking for things to hang your hat on, let's look for happy surprises. Some young guys popping up out of nowhere. All right, before we get out of here, I want to talk about a few things that happened before the White Sox played a second of baseball. The 108ers and our friends at Sox Machine, we did a show at the Ramova Theater, up in the Ramova Theater loft. I want to thank everyone who came out to it. We were promoting that show for months. We got a great crowd. It wasn't a sellout crowd, so we were a little disappointed in ourselves, but a great crowd. The room was absolutely packed. Live shows are such a different animal, and I appreciate them so much. We've done a lot of them at this point. We've done a lot of bar remotes. We've done Reggie's a bunch of times and live shows where ticketed or non-ticketed or whatever. And one thing that I've learned about live shows is that me, myself, Teresa E, and my Suck Summer, we fucking love doing live shows. We love the interaction with you guys, and I think it's something that we shoot for. I mean, like, we're getting ready to go on. We're the last act, obviously. We're after Sox Machine guys have done a couple of their panels. And I'm looking at these guys, and they're just excited to get out there and talk some shit to you guys and hopefully make you guys laugh. And, like, that is definitely our approach in live shows. And I can't get enough of it. I love it whenever we get a chance to be out there in the audience. And we love you guys screaming at us, telling us we're wrong or we're idiots or disagreeing with our takes. I mean, that's the kind of live show we want to play. Engage the crowd, baby. That's how we do. Now, I must say, though, Ramova was a beautiful venue. They've had the LED screens behind us, and the images look terrific. The sound, they did a great job with the sound. They took care of it after we brought our mixer in there. A couple notes for Ramova for next time. All right, for Ramova people, if you're listening. Number one, you weren't ready for as big of a drinking crowd as we got. So make sure you add a couple extra bartenders. The bartenders that were there did great. Nothing against them. It's just the more people you got, the faster you can serve this crowd, and you can get much more drinks down. Number two, you got to keep those drinks flowing until the doors are closed on us. Don't tell everyone to move the tab downstairs, because that we lost our momentum. You got to keep that goddamn tab open. So that's tips for next time for Ramova. I got my guy Josh Nelson to book the steak dinner bet. 818.5 runs allowed for the White Sox. He's over. I'm under. I was feeling good after the weekend, and then the White Sox gave up 9 runs today out in the slush, and so that's kind of pulling him back to closer than feeling good. It's about 5 runs a game, so something for you to watch out for during the season. I swear to God, Josh was waiting on this so much, and we eventually had to pull the trigger. He upset me a little bit, so I'm going to hit him hard with the wine bill if I happen to win this. If I happen to win, I'm nice, cocktails only. I'm gonna hit the guy with the wine bill real fucking hard. All right, last thing that I've got to touch on, and a tip of the cap to the Chicago sports bums. They always throw a great tailgate, the Whiskey at Comiskey series, and they were doing them last year. They're going to do them again this year. But the opening day tailgate was especially good. And I got to say, like, someone came up to me at the tailgate, and they were like, oh, talking about the community of White Sox Twitter, and they're like, it's like, what, look what you guys started 108. I'm like, look, we might have like been the little bit of flint to get the spark going, but what the Chicago sports bums do with those tailgates is like 100, exactly what you want to be doing as far as building community. They're a place to go meet people, and they're also a place, if you have not been out and you don't know a lot of people, you can just run up there and someone will take you and introduce you to this person, introduce you to that person. And hey, come on over here and have a bourbon. And the bums did a great job of having it. Had the Mictors out there. They had the full Mictor sponsorship for the power. That part of it. The food was great. Chef Ruddy is a fucking lunatic. I like that guy already. I was a big fan of his Twitter account. I had him in a 108 tourney years ago. But like, that is the way to really build community. And their generosity too. It's not just like they're good at thinking through all those things. They're great personalities, but they're also extremely generous. They're moving around the thing. They're talking to everyone. They're mingling with the people. They're making sure that everyone feels comfortable there. And that's why the thing continues to grow and grow. It's really impressive. And then sometimes you get the serendipity of a John Sheriffin showing up. You get the serendipity of the Barstool Chicago crew coming through and then blogging and talking about that stuff. So it just got my mind wandering for these guys. Like, they do such a great job. I always look at the little like tiny things. Like when I look at someone doing something great, it's like, man, how could they get that better? I was like, would there be a certain place in the lot B that if they could always have that spot, would it make this bigger or better for them? Would having some sort of I think they got the right idea with the food guests, changing the food guests every time. That's kind of a cool thing. What about an MC? What about a tailgate MC? Someone there that they can talk to on the microphone, or just a quick thing. I don't know. It's got me my brain racing, but I was really impressed. It's always an absolutely great time, and I've got some monetization ideas. I will not bring those up here, but I'll talk to the boys about this later. So I think you guys have heard enough jibber jabbering out of me. So thanks for joining me today, just to hear my thoughts, talk about some White Sox shit. It's good to get this out ahead of the 108 podcast. I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of this stuff. Next week's guest is not booked yet, but we're gonna go back to the normal format. We're gonna have actual guests that I have on here and interview. I reached out to one of them today. It's a recurring guest who I think is looking very forward to taking a big hearty shit all over what the White Sox have done so far. And I'm gonna take some gambles on some stuff and try to reach out to some new people. So thanks again to Punky's Pizza and Pasta, all the 108 families up in the YouTube comments. Appreciate you smashing the like button, and of course the comments and drinks and tips. Especially those drinks and tips. That's how we stay fed here in the 108. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon, and I love all of you. Talk to you.